Hey, welcome back everybody to What the Health. I am Dr. Greg Eckel, and I am so excited to be starting out the season of podcasting with you all with the topic, Ayurvedic approaches to neurodegeneration. And I've got Dr. Shivani here to educate us about, she is an Ayurvedic practitioner, expert in fusing Eastern and Western practices that help our bodies achieve equilibrium. Inflammation is a root cause for many health issues in our lives, and we have the power to overcome it. Ayurveda is a sister science of yoga that allows us to learn natural ways to bring the body back into balance. Learning at home remedies to reduce inflammation naturally will help you enjoy more energy, less brain fog, less pain, and ultimately achieve vibrant health. Dr. Shivani Gupta has practiced Ayurvedic medicine for over 20 years, and her approach is to show you the tools in your toolkit so you can reach for them every time you need them. Dr. Shivani, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And I am so excited. This is one topic that we haven't really covered on What the Health. And so I'm super psyched. We are so aligned with the East meets West naturally, and your expertise in brain health and neurodegeneration and some of the products that you've created. I'm excited for you to share. I'm wondering, let's start out with Ayurveda as a system in general. Just out of my selfish, need, this is one system of medicine that I haven't really studied. So I'm excited to learn.
Sure. It's funny. People usually go down that path when they've had a health, issue or something that's come up. And as they go through their health journey and each door is not solving their problem, then they end up at chiropractic, naturopathic, homeopathic, acupuncture, and all these amazing alternative or integrative modalities.
Right.
And it seems to be that Ayurveda is usually the last door, like the absolute dead last door. And then we're always like, you came quite late in the game, guys.
Yeah.
And now we have to try to unpack and unravel all those years of damage or whatever it is that caused it. So Ayurveda is a system of medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. And it's an entire comprehensive system that covers detoxification, nutrition, sleep. It's really a way of life and a preventive lifestyle that we can all live every single day, that's in tune with nature, that's in tune with our circadian rhythm. It's Ayurveda that said that our gut health and our digestive fire is the key to all health. And it's the central tenet to having preventive health overall.
That is really cool. So it's really it's one of those pillars. With Chinese medicine, naturopathic medicine, coming off the continent of India, correct?
Yes.
And so if we couch it in a discussion around the blueprint for better brain health, because that's a big component of our audience out there, what are some key concepts for folks?
Sure. Because Ayurveda talks about gut health as the center, and we now know, and we've now shown through modern science, the gut-brain connection, gut-brain axis. We've also shown that our ability to be in our parasympathetic versus our sympathetic nervous system has a lot to do with our brain function and what we're capable of. Ayurveda teaches us a lot in terms of our circadian rhythm, how to live in tune with nature. That's a big piece around brain health and longevity and how we feel. Another big one is gut health. If we can get that gut health on point, in alignment, reduce that inflammation, heal the gut lining, then we've got better brain function as well. Sleep optimization is a huge topic out of Ayurveda. We are big fans of the self-care rituals and the ways that we invest throughout the day to have ideal sleep at night, in terms of our rhythm with diet, our rhythm with self-care, when we wake, when we sleep, that we do yoga and activity so we're tired enough to create that sleep pressure. So there's a lot of aspects of Ayurveda that I'm sure are right in sync with traditional Chinese medicine, with naturopathic medicine, to provide tools to people for our brain health to be amazing.
I love it. So that component, talk about, so that sounds, perhaps the naturopaths of old copied from Ayurveda, because it is, that gut health component, that overlap. Now, my understanding, there's like three main kind of body types that create different. I mean, I know enough just to be dangerous on this topic. So, for our general listeners, and in particular around maybe experiencing some neurodegeneration, Parkinson's or dementia, or concerned about that, or my favorite topic is longevity. So, we have that continuum of care. This one, living in accordance with natural rhythms and the planet and nature, proper diet, all of that. The beginning spot for better brain health, what would you recommend?
It's interesting. In Ayurveda, we teach this tenet, this concept of the doshas, which are the mind-body constitutions. And what we teach is that people are primarily one of the doshas, and their secondary dosha is a little bit less strong than the primary. And so we take, basically, your dosha is decided at birth. So the combination of your two parents, time of conception, moment of conception, has decided what you are. For example, I'm a pitta. I'm born to two pittas. And the three kinds are kapha, pitta, and vata. And so when you take those three constitutions, it's interesting how you break them down. They're based on the elements. So we have earth, fire, water, ether. I'm forgetting my fifth one. So I'll explain it according to the doshas. So vata people are air and ether, like they're very wind energy. Then the pitta people are fire, water. Kapha people are earth and water. So that's how I usually visualize it in my brain. And what's interesting about that is if you take a person and you understand their dosha, their primary dosha from birth, and you explain it to them, all of a sudden they have this understanding of their innate nature and all the things that keep them in balance and all the things that throw them out of balance. For example, vata people tend to be thin and wiry. Their minds go 100 miles an hour. They have a tendency towards anxiety and disrupted sleep. So there's certain traits that fit within that group, and thus they are set up for certain issues as well in terms of brain health, in terms of longevity, in terms of diseases. Pitta people are in the middle, medium body, based on fire. They're very entrepreneurial, go-getter, ambitious, want to go create things, but then also tend towards burnout, also tend towards heartburn, over fire, inflammation. Like the pitta people are just full of so much fire. We have all the negative effects of too much. And then you have kapha. Kapha people are of the earth. So that's primarily someone who's going to have physical traits like being heavy, big boned, slower, one thing at a time. They'll have certain mental traits like they are very loyal, slow speaking. They're going to have certain positive and negative traits that impact their life. They'll have a tendency towards depression or a low mood. And so their job, and really my job, is to put a fire under them and get them going and get them moving so that their brain and everything will work at the pace that they kind of want. So it's interesting. It's hard to explain in like a short period of time, but I have a dosha quiz on my website so people can take their dosha, understand what it is, receive the result, and get a little bit of that self-understanding that kind of helps you guide how you're going to manage your career, how you're going to manage your schedule, and how you're going to manage your life through the seasons to stay more successful.
I love it. Okay, so in that website we've got is fusionarymethod.com.
It's on my website, shivanigupta.com.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you mentioned that. So we'll put that in the show notes. We will put that in the show notes, shivanigupta.com. We've got it. So I love quizzes like that and educating and informing folks about their bodies and different lenses to put on to help them. And, I almost call it like fractal medicine of what resonates for the individual. There's not one direct path for anyone. And so if this is resonating with you, definitely take the quiz and get your dosha figured out. I could hear pieces of me in each one of those. So I'm excited to take the quiz. Now there's I notice in two of the doshas, there's fire in both, two of them, right?
There's water in two of them.
Water in two of them. And then we got air in the other. And you had mentioned I had mentioned in your bio around inflammation of being a root cause illness. Maybe you want to speak into that.
Yeah. So, my family history growing up is diabetes, and being Indian, our diet is full of rice and lentils and tortillas, like our rotis and naan and potatoes. And I grew up thinking, how am I going to skip this? How am I going to bypass
Mm,
this horrible family history in front of me? And I really had to do my own research, dive into what I was going to do. And when I learned about inflammation, I was doing my Ayurvedic master's degree, and I remember sitting in herbology and hearing how spice after spice helped us reduce inflammation. And I kept thinking, well, I'm American. Like, we have superfoods. We eat blueberries and we're told salmon is great and omegas and all these things. No one talks about herbs and spices as being so potent. But each time we dove into the benefits, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky. I'm Indian. We already eat those spices. We eat cumin every day. We eat turmeric every day. We eat coriander, cilantro every day. There's so many spices we just automatically involve in our food without choice. Like, that is how you make that food. And I remember hearing about turmeric and realizing, okay, if I'm going to help myself and my whole generation and people around me reduce this systemic inflammation, if inflammation is the root cause of so many issues in the body, then I'm going to have to go find a way to create something that will help all of us. And that's where I did my PhD on turmeric, the spice. And I went so deep into turmeric. And honestly, I'm such a nerd. If I could, I'd do my next PhD on ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, I think, is like the next miracle potent herb that can change our lives. And I'm always formulating new things around ashwagandha for us. But yeah, my goal is to show people that if we don't have inflammation in the brain, we don't have inflammation in the gut, we don't have inflammation in our joints and spreading everywhere and causing that low grade persistent fire of inflammation in the system, then we can have the health that we want. But if we've got that going on, and we've got every itis in the body going on, then how are we going to win when it comes to brain health, gut health, or any of it?
Yeah, it is so true. I mean, it's so effervescent, present, and limiting for so many people to not understand that inflammation, or the itis is, which means inflammation, is really at the root cause, those components. I think Time Magazine actually had inflammation as the cover poster child in 1980 on the cover, of saying, we found the root cause of illness. That was 1980, and we're still talking about it,
Right.
So, all right, nerd us out with turmeric and curcumin.
Sure, anytime. So turmeric comes from the ginger family. It's an incredible spice. Most people are buying it fresh or powdered. And the problem is that out of the entire turmeric spice, fresh is fine. People are juicing it. I get it. If you're going to juice it, please add black pepper or healthy fat to increase the absorption. A lot of people are sprinkling it on their eggs and chicken as a powder. Fine, the powder is more potent and more concentrated than the fresh form, but still only 3% of turmeric is the curcuminoids. And out of that 3% of curcuminoids, only one, curcumin, is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so as a naturopath, I'm sure you reach for whole natural forms of things typically, but in the case of turmeric, there's such an argument for reaching for the extract, so that when people have acute inflammation somewhere in the body, or they know they have inflammation, they can take just that one extract. And so what I did once I did my PhD, I was basically running around telling everyone, oh, you've got pain, you can take turmeric for that. Oh, you're getting a cold, you can take turmeric for that. And my family was like, you're insane. If you're really going to say that forever, just make something, okay? Because that's ridiculous if that's really going to be what you say to everyone. And my whole in-law family in South Florida is all physicians and surgeons. So I got the idea of, okay, well, all day they're going to see people with inflammation. How about instead of them handing everyone a prescription for something, they hand them a prescription for turmeric? What different world would we have if they did that instead, if they offered the natural solutions? And it's Ayurvedic, no less. It's an Ayurvedic supplement. So I did that. I built a very potent form of curcumin. And when I did, my factory was like, you are absolutely insane. Nobody sources like this. Nobody uses ingredients like this. You're never going to make any money. And I said, I actually just want to prove a point to my family and prove that this is possible. That if someone says, I have a lot of pain, that turmeric can replace the other stuff that they were going to take. And so that's what I built about 7 years ago. And now we're in clinical studies. We have case studies that are getting published. So it's really an exciting moment to finally, 7 years later, have proven my point. I've proven it anecdotally for all 7 years,
Indeed.
but now we're publishing our results.
An overnight success in sensation, right? 7 years.
Yeah.
How did the family receive that? So family of physicians and medical providers, were they open to it?
Surprisingly, no. They were like, oh, placebo's 40%. We're sure you'll do just fine. And I was like, you think I would care to win on placebo? Really?
Wow.
So it's been a slog. It's been years. It took one saying, hey, my shoulder feels better. I think her stuff works. And then the other one said, oh, my knee feels all better. Wow. Or, oh yeah, my post-op pain, I don't have to take the pain meds. That works for my back. So it took each one experiencing it to get on board, more so than what I thought, which was just reaching for a natural solution, which I should have expected, but I didn't.
Yes.
But post-pandemic, I'm seeing people say yes, much more easily.
So tell us and speak into the specifics around turmeric for neurodegeneration.
Sure. So because turmeric reduces inflammation, that alone is going to be very effective, right? A lot of times gut-brain axis is connected, gut's inflamed from all the things that we're eating, all the things that we're doing, the stress that we're causing. Another good reasoning is it increases blood flow in the body. So because it's a vasodilator and it'll increase that blood flow, it can help support the body. It can also help stop amyloid plaques from forming, which I've read both sides around that actually, but I've read that that's helpful with stopping the progression of Alzheimer's. I've read that it helps with neurogenesis. It's neuroprotective. I've read that it helps with HPA axis. So there's a lot of ways, but I would say anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immunomodulating are some of the key ways that it supports us.
Mm-hmm. Immunomodulating. So how is turmeric? Because you really think about, what you hear popular, and people are using it for pain. What's the evidence or support around immunomodulatory effects of turmeric?
So it's antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. So I have a lot of people who take turmeric as their immune support. They're like, I take that, I don't get sick when I travel. I take that, I don't get sick through the winter holidays.
Oh, that's really cool. So it helps with inflammation across the board, but also immunomodulatory effects. That might be one to have. Everybody should be carrying with them on the road as they travel because of both of those effects there.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I use it for everything. I take it as my multi at this point. I'm like, as long as I'm taking my turmeric, I'm fine. I've got that baseline support.
That's awesome. So you wrote about kind of the component here in Ayurveda for the key to longevity that we've been missing. And, we're utilizing, you did your PhD in turmeric and curcumin. How does the Ayurvedic platform fit in on the longevity front? I mean, it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest. I'm sure there's a debate between Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine.
I'm sure. Which
one came first? But as far as systems of medicine that have, maintained themselves through the test of time and are very potent in that. I mean, the only way that these systems would survive so long is that they're effective. So maybe talk into the longevity discussion here.
Sure. So what I love? Ayurveda is truly a preventive lifestyle. And so what it brings to us is that understanding that because mind, body, and spirit can be brought into alignment, we can have a completely different life experience in terms of joy, in terms of vibrancy, in terms of prevention, right? When we talk about longevity nowadays, I think the bigger issue is how polluted the world is, how stressful the world is, and how the body's kind of under attack compared to when it was in the past. So when we've got so many factors like an air quality, food quality, water quality, land quality, all these things, plus, electromagnetic stuff going on too, really the body, it needs a defensive system. And with Ayurveda, the philosophy is if we would do yoga, if we would spend more time in nature, if we would practice self-care rituals that are preventive and very effective, then all of a sudden we have a different life experience. If we would honor food as being fuel, as being loving, nourishing support for all of our cells, then we can have a completely different trajectory in terms of our longevity. So a lot of times when I hear about the blue zones, I'm like, that's living the Ayurvedic lifestyle. It's just in the Mediterranean form or in the Japanese form. But in India, we too had this idea that living in community, supporting one another, living off the land, living in the most organic and fresh way possible, while also remembering that pranayama, yoga, meditation, these aspects are key to keeping ourselves in alignment. Those are the tools towards longevity. And what I like to do is break it down into really golden nuggets, like simple tools that people can pull from Ayurveda to use now. So I teach things as simple as use a tongue scraper, walk in nature 30 minutes a day, really focus on circadian rhythm and sleep on time. What are your sleep rituals before you go to bed? And these are really my ways of pulling the wisdom of Ayurveda into modern day times so people can use them. And then you've invested in your longevity bit by bit every single day. And that all stacks up and adds up to you getting to have that longevity that you want.
I love it. Talk to me about the tongue scraping. So what does that do?
So in Ayurveda, we have something called Dinacharya. Dinacharya is the 12 Ayurvedic self-care rituals that we can do every day for prevention. You wake up, meditate, use your toothbrush, and right after that, you use your tongue scraper. And we teach to use a metal tongue scraper, whether it's steel or copper. You can even use a silver one if you can get a hold of a silver one. But copper is great because it's like an antiviral, antibacterial it's an antibacterial ingredient. So when you use it, you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times. Don't go too far back. You don't want to gag yourself. And don't go too hard. You don't want to scrape off the surface of your tongue. But the benefits are that it really clears out your taste buds. Any coating that's on the tongue is going to be removed. It ignites digestive fire. And just like in Chinese medicine, you have reflexology and all the organs are reflected on the bottom of the feet. In Ayurveda, we teach that all the organs are reflected on the tongue. And so by scraping the tongue gently, you're actually gently massaging all the organs of the body and detoxing them first thing in the morning while igniting your digestive fire. So it's like the cheapest, easiest, simplest, quickest self-care habit to get the engine started for the day, open that digestive fire and get you going and support yourself to detox, which we want the body to stay detoxed all the way through and not accumulate something that we call ama. Ama is the toxins that can accumulate through our system, through our brain, through our body. And I teach everyone at night, it's almost like there's these garbage trucks that come out and they're going to try to clean up the lymphatic system, pick up all the junk everywhere. And if we haven't supported the body in getting to detox by tongue scraping, dry brushing, abhyang massage, we're not going to get the result that we want while we sleep.
Wow, that is awesome. Has the tongue scraping been there from the very beginning? It has been.
Yeah.
Wow, that is phenomenal. It's a really cool technique. I think adding that into whatever your daily ritual is, that's a really, thank you for sharing that with our listeners and viewers for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. And the detoxing of the body, I've read about the big Ayurvedic cleanses, because that is a big part of the medicine as well. With the oil pulling and almost
enemas.
Yeah,
we do everything. I've done panchakarma. It's called panchakarma.
It's
done in India. It's done here in the US too. But when you go to India to do this, I did it pre-pregnancy. So over 12 years ago, before I had kids, I wanted my system perfect to house a baby. It's intense. Like they do neti pot. They make you, everything needs to come out of the top of you, out of the bottom of you, enemas, colonics, crazy massages, mud bath. And oh my gosh, there's everything in it. But the intention there is that every year, if we did a profound, radical, amazing, intense detox, how would disease stay in our bodies? Like we would be cleansed every year. It's almost like the best oil change on earth. Like how can there be a problem?
Literally. And how about the oil pulling component? Because that is a big piece of Ayurveda as well.
Yes. So after you brush your teeth and after you do your tongue scraping every morning, you can do something called oil pulling, where you take any food grade oil like coconut oil, sesame oil, almond oil, We love sesame oil the best. We consider it the king of oils. You put that in the mouth for 5 to 20 minutes. And towards the end of when you're doing this oil pulling, you're just kind of swishing it around the mouth, moving it around the mouth, making sure it gets everywhere. It's going to collect all the bacteria and all the bad stuff in your mouth. And then at the end of that 5 to 20 minutes, you spit it out. But you make sure you do not spit it out in your sink, in your toilet, or in your shower, because you will clog your house pipes. So you have to spit it into the trash. But it's really great for oral health. And isn't it interesting? This science from 5,000 years ago told us this. Now we're seeing modern science say, oh, oral health tied to heart health. You really should take care of your oral health. Oh, there's an oral microbiome. In Ayurveda, we teach that the oral microbiome signals to the digestive system what is happening and how we need to prepare for the food that's about to come down. So science is proving a lot of what Ayurveda taught for those thousands of years. And oil pulling, again, a simple habit. Keep a bottle of oil in your bathroom and you can easily incorporate that. And I tell people, if you can't do something every day, do it 2 or 3 times a week. Fit it in on the weekend, but just start to get in the habit of these things and then you get fast at it.
Yeah, that's really, again, an awesome home technique that has withstood the test of time. Oftentimes, difficult and recalcitrant conditions, I learned early on to ask about oral hygiene and root canals and any pending surgeries of the oral cavity. I had a woman with chronic sinusitis, and we treated her for about 6 months, and it dawned on me one day, she just wasn't making any traction. And do you have any pending dental issues? And she said, oh, it's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, I have this root canal for the last 9 months. I'm just waiting for the time to go take care of it. It was upper maxillary component of her jaw. And she got that taken care of, it cleared up.
No, it's very tough. Root canals, dental work. I think we're all becoming so much more aware of how these things can impact us and the long-standing effects of that dental work. And it's tough because you've got the holistic, you've got the traditional, there's a lot of mixed messages in there.
Yeah. Now, since we're talking about the mouth, let's talk about the gut-brain connection here.
Sure. So when it comes to gut, in Ayurveda, we call that Agni, digestive fire. And we literally teach that it's so important to look at the gut as a fire. So let's say you had a campsite where you were going to go and you were going to cook all weekend. You would build a fire with love. You would buy the big sticks. You would collect the big, small, and medium sticks. I've been camping once in my whole life. It was like a wilderness camp lesson thing. But you'd build that fire with love, and then you'd ignite that fire. You'd manage that fire. You wouldn't want it to overburn and get crazy and cause a forest fire. At night, you would kind of tone the fire down so it could be at rest. And then in the morning, you'd reignite it. So that same type of philosophy applies to Ayurveda, right? When you go in the morning, you want to ignite that brain, get going, start your day, have productivity, have focus. You want the brain to be on all cylinders, doing what you want it to do. And then all of a sudden, as the evening comes, you want to start winding it down. You have dinner, self-care rituals, evening self-care rituals for bed. You really want the brain to be able to shut down, rest, heal overnight. Like I mentioned, the glymphatic system. I'm sure you taught it, but we have 3 pounds of glymphatic system waste that if we don't sleep well, it's just going to accumulate. And you can imagine what junk up here means. It's not that much space to work with. We want all of it to clear out. And so it's by igniting that fire and building the best digestive fire possible that we get those results when it comes to brain health. So I really focus on that. As an entrepreneur, as a mom, I need a brain that's on it. And so I wake up, I do aloe vera juice. That's a way to ignite digestive fire, or ginger lemon tea in the morning will ignite the fire. I time my meals on a rhythm. I practice intermittent fasting, which we teach in Ayurveda. I make sure that by the end of the day, by 8 p.m., the whole day is wound down. No more laptop, no more work. Allow the brain to wind down, to settle into the most ideal sleep. And so all of that is an investment, I find, into brain health.
I love it. That's so crucial. So this concept of igniting the fire of digestion, why is that important?
Well, it's a fire. So if we're not going to ignite it and we're just going to let it sit there dormant or sad or weak, we don't get the result we want. We're not going to have the metabolism we want. We're not going to have a system that's moving and metabolizing what we're eating. We're not going to have a system that has the power to absorb the nutrition from the food that we're going to eat. We're not going to have the connection to gut brain at the level or pace that we want. Everything will just be slower, weaker. The strengths and signals will be weaker. And so that's part of the issue I see nowadays is our systems are so encumbered, slowed down. We've done so much damage to gut microbiome and these kinds of things. We haven't taken the time to heal. People have taken antibiotics and never done any gut healing protocol since. So that's my goal, is always to show people, let's repair the gut, let's heal the gut, let's ignite that fire. And let me show you how to keep igniting and managing that fire well.
Great. That's awesome. What other kind of health tips do you have for folks? I mean, you listed there were 12 as far as the daily rituals of Ayurveda. We are definitely going to be directing folks to the website. Which one do you want me to use for that?
I find the tongue scraper is the easiest and fastest.
Yeah.
It's one that people can incorporate like this because it's attached to the habit of brushing your teeth, and you're already going to brush your teeth twice a day. I think oil pulling is a great addition because, again, oral microbiome. Another one that I love for people to incorporate, which is a little bit more advanced in the list of self-care tools, is abhyang massage. So abhyang massage means taking oil, sesame oil is our preferred. You can warm it up or take it as is, and literally you sit on a towel and massage the whole body from the toes all the way up to the neck. And you're very generous with this oil. It's like you're giving the oil to your body. And what it's going to do, it's going to create oleation of the joints. The skin is the largest organ of the body. So you're going to feed your body this oil. It's a wonderful winter activity, of course, because winter is dry and cool. But also anyone who is a Vata person or has a Vata mind, who's air and anxious and tornado mind. And many of us who are entrepreneurs are like 200 miles a minute with our thoughts and our ideas. It really grounds you. It slows you down. It helps the brain slow down and calm down. And it can give you a profound night's sleep. So I like that habit. It's a little harder to implement for people because we're always so busy. But I find that if you're willing to do that self-care act and really give yourself a full body oil massage, it'll really calm the mind down for a really incredible night's sleep.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And you can just sleep with the oil on, or?
I would take a quick shower and rinse it off.
Rinse it off.
So you're not sticky.
Get the sheets all messy.
Exactly.
That brought up a point why sesame oil? Why is sesame oil considered the king of oils?
It has a lot of vitamin E in it. It has very beneficial properties. It's a food grade oil. It's just been the most used out of Ayurveda. And it's funny because I'll tell people, use whatever you've got. If you've got sesame, if you've got almond oil, olive oil, coconut oil, use it. But we like the vitamin E and the benefits. It's a very strengthening oil.
Got it. Any other components that you'd like to share with our listeners or viewers today?
I would just like to share that Ayurveda is such a beautiful system of medicine. It's a system of health and healing that we can apply to all areas of our lives. It's very much a path of moderation. It's not extreme one way or the other. But if you can start to implement these beautiful self-care tools and get that understanding of your dosha, and then also use those super spices, super herbs, you've really got a plan for prevention, in addition to a plan that gives you that vibrancy that you want in your life. So I find that Ayurveda is such a profound way to shift how we feel. And we haven't been taught these tools before, so we have no idea. But once you learn them and implement them, you get to experience your life in a whole new way.
Wow, that's profound, because we have not been taught how powerful our bodies and minds truly are. And here's a self-empowerment system to really take charge of the embodiment of the physical form and really honor the preciousness of this life,
Exactly. Oh.
Well, Dr. Shivani, thank you so much. I am going to I love the turmeric that, we geeked out on that. And I'm excited. Will you share a little bit about that specific product? Because you put a lot of heart and soul into it. And how is yours different than others on the market?
Sure. So turmeric gold and inflammation relief are the two formulas that I built with the curcumin that I sourced. And it's the same formula I've used for 7 years, because if I changed it, I think a lot of people will get very mad at me. But I built them because I thought if we had a turmeric that was daily preventive that we could all take, that would be wonderful. And then I built inflammation relief to use all the herbs from Ayurveda that work synergistically in a symphony to reduce that inflammation. And so I have a lot of people who have joint pain, chronic joint pain. They take both of them and they tell me they don't have to take anything else anymore. And they're very happy because many of them couldn't take NSAIDs or things like that. And then a lot of people tell me, look, I just needed a great immune support. I needed something that just made me feel better for the little daily aches and pains, and really as a preventive, because they understand what inflammation is. So they take turmeric gold. And then since then, I've gotten into making teas and sleep formulas and anything I can kind of help people with. I made one for menopause. So for me, spices and herbs can be so profound. But when you take a turmeric that's truly potent, you'll actually feel the difference. And that's the thing. Most turmeric supplements out there use whatever's cheap and whatever's available and wherever they want to source from. And to me, I was obsessed with, can I prove without a doubt that this can replace your painkiller? And so that's why it's effective, but then it's also effective for the rest of us when we're not in pain as a good preventive.
Love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Shivani, thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise here with us on What the Health. You all listening, we wouldn't be doing it without you. So if you loved today's show, please give us a 5-star rating and actually write down what you learned so that other people can get on the bus, because it's not coming from the top down. This is us bringing it to you, the truth. So Dr. Shivani, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome.